friends, back with another super cool video. This is a request I got a couple weeks ago, and I'm so sorry it's taken so long for me to get to it, but I've been busy. I'm back. So, Mercury square to Pluto in the birth chart. This is when we have somebody who's on the lookout for enemies. The concept of enemy solidifies their sense of self. Now, the sign makes a big difference with this particular aspect. We can be mentally and communicatively intolerant with this particular square. We tend to be very, very sure of our personal point of view and ready to enforce that. So they really are not ones to stand down or apologize because they're very, very sure of their emphatic knowledge. Attempting to bring others to submission by demonstrating some kind of superiority is really, really common with this particular square. They do tend to feel a lot safer if they can use their Pluto to really control the mercurial situations in their lives, the daily situations, the ideas and opinions of other people. They don't tend to consciously care much about what others think of them with this particular square. They have a bit of an antagonist built into them when we have this particular aspect. And it's built into their identity. So you can find them to be, short or high-minded or sometimes even verbally abusive. They're a lot of times okay with this particular view because they see this as contributing to their position of power or authority when it comes to ideas and opinions. So we tend to be really quick to point out flaws and weaknesses and what is wrong in other people with this particular aspect. They can keenly see what is not readily exposed in others and enjoy ripping it out of them. So they tend to call each other people on their stuff and feel very justified in doing it. It's a style of confrontation that we have with this particular square, and they can cause others to respond to them in seemingly contradictory or aggressive ways themselves. And of course, at the deeper level, there's always something going on. And there's really this desire when we have this particular square to get others to respond or react with such honesty that people with this particular square have to face the flaws, the mercurial flaws that they are very, very keenly aware that they have. So there's this unconscious asking for mental exposure, you could say, and a way that they are going to have to come to grips with their own flaws or mental shortcomings. So they're forced to meet themselves and reconnect with what is flawless, their true self. And, Mercury is very much about perfection and flaw. Pluto is death, regeneration. So there is an end, a death, to the way people with this aspect use it to manipulate or control others and therefore themselves. And it's very, very common for people who have this square to always be looking out for authorities or authority figures that are like on the take or dishonest in some way, or not as competent as they think they should be, and try to out them. So a strong, strong need to affect and control the flow of society, the flow of the daily ideas that people have in society. They really have a hard time allowing others their own opinions. And again, really enjoy being able to spot hidden weaknesses in authority figures. So they feel safe again when this kind of thing is exposed, and they feel very justified in looking for what's wrong. They really feel like, this is their mission. So they really have to learn that we all have a flawed perspective. Every one of us. We can only see things from our unique individual point of view. And when they can really understand that their unique point of view is not the point of view, they can really start to find some peace. Because now we aren't always feeling the need to save ourselves from someone else's disagreeing with us. That's very threatening with this particular aspect. So we come to a place where we don't need to fight for our point of view. We don't need to force our ideas anymore. There's no longer anything to prove. So we have a lot more time to focus on what matters, because we tend to be looking for little details that we can, latch onto and out and expose and have a problem with this particular square. That takes a lot of time. When we aren't looking things that need to be forcibly fixed, we have freed ourselves up for concentrating on things that are positive and trying to evoke positive responses from other people. So people with this particular square have come a long way when they are sincerely listening to their teachers and the authority figures that have the knowledge that they are looking for themselves. They have a hard time with settling into patterns of behavior where they're having any kind of submission going on. So when they can give up the insecurity that comes from having a false sense of control, and they really start to gain real control through not controlling, and this is when they have really mastered this particular aspect. Now the concentration and the ability to focus that was not there before really begins to unfold. Their minds become a farm for expertise. When they can stop focusing on fighting for their ideas to be superior, then they open their minds to this plethora of effective communication and being able to motivate other people. So instead of trying to motivate them through bossing them around, before this aspect is solved, and having a lot of intolerance or impatience for other people, and especially in the workplace, It's very difficult to work for somebody that has this particular aspect because you get the micromanager with it. And so we go from the micromanager, the critical micromanager, to somebody who has an immense amount of self-restraint, self-control, and a wise understanding of human nature. So there's a lot of gifts to be had from this particular square if you're, of course, turning it into lemonade, which is what those hard aspects do. They're the lemons a lot of times that life gives us. And by working on them, putting it through the press, we turn it into lemonade. So again, every hard aspect is something that is dynamic in our life. It's something that requires a certain amount of action, a certain amount of energy in order to solve. And once we do that, then we have this wonderful tool in our toolbox because we've gotten on top of a certain characteristic or a certain trait that was standing in our way of really seeing the kind of success in our life that we would really like to see. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthinAspectAstrology.com, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media at Truth in Aspect Astrology. Yes, I do private consultation, and I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.